There's a kind of fire that doesn't burn in the open. It doesn't roar, doesn't destroy. It burns within. Every generation has warriors who learn to live with that fire, men who stop chasing glory and instead turn the battlefield inward. Among them, one name stands immortal, Miyamoto Musashi. Musashi wasn't born calm. He wasn't born wise. He was forged, in solitude, in pain, and in the relentless heat of self-discipline. He walked through chaos and came out with clarity. He killed not out of rage, but with presence. His sword was an extension of his mind. But the most powerful weapon Musashi ever mastered wasn't his blade. It was his stillness. The stillness to observe before acting. The calm to win battles before they even began. And the fire to keep walking the path of mastery, even when the world offered comfort instead of challenge. This is not a story about war. It's about the war within, the one every human being fights when life tests their patience, pride, and purpose. Because no matter how much the world changes, one truth remains. Fire, you cannot control the storm. But you can forge yourself into something the storm cannot break. So in this video, we'll uncover timeless lessons from Musashi, lessons that show you how to find that inner fire and shape it into unshakable strength. Let's begin. Musashi once wrote in the Book of Five Rings, "The true warrior conquers himself before he conquers others." To most, that sounds poetic. To Musashi, it was survival. He learned early that a man ruled by emotion, by fear, anger, or pride, is already defeated. And so, before every duel, Musashi didn't study his opponent. He studied himself. He looked at his heartbeat. His breathing. The small tremor in his fingers before drawing his blade. He understood that fear is not the enemy, unawareness is. Because what you can see, you can shape. What you ignore, controls you. Think about your own battles. When someone insults you, do you feel that spark of anger ignite before you even think? That's the moment you lose the fight, not when you speak, not when you act, but when you react. Musashi's first timeless lesson is this. Win the battle before it begins, by mastering yourself. In modern life, the sword is replaced by your words, your reactions, your decisions. Every argument, every confrontation, every failure is a duel with yourself. And most people lose, because they step into battle without awareness. To forge inner fire, you must first observe yourself in the heat of emotion and not flinch. You must learn to stay present even when your blood wants to boil. That is how you stop being ruled by impulse, and start being ruled by intention. This is what Musashi called the void, the state where emotion fades and clarity emerges. It's the pause between stimulus and response. It's the space where strength is born. When you live from that space, you don't react, you choose. And that choice is freedom. Musashi's life wasn't glamorous. He had no master. No army. No temple to protect him. He lived as a ronin, a wandering samurai, sleeping under bridges, eating whatever nature provided. But while the world saw poverty, Musashi saw training that he believed discipline wasn't restriction, it was liberation. Because when you discipline the body, you free the mind. When you control your habits, you stop being a prisoner of your desires. He woke before dawn. Trained with swords, spears, brushes, and words. Yes, words. Musashi believed that mastery must flow into every movement, the sword, the stroke, the step, the silence. To him, every act was a reflection of the same principle, you are what you repeatedly do. He understood that talent fades, luck changes, and motivation dies, but discipline remains. And that is what separates the ordinary from the legendary. You may not hold a sword, but your battlefield is no different. Your alarm clock. Your habits. Your focus. These are your daily duels, the small unseen wars that define who you become. People say they want freedom, freedom to do what they want, when they want. But the truth Musashi discovered is this, without discipline, freedom becomes chaos. The disciplined man doesn't act from impulse, he acts from purpose. And because of that, he moves through life with a quiet authority, calm, centered, unshaken. When everyone else panics, he breathes. When others shout, he listens. When others rush, he waits. That's not weakness. That's power restrained. That's inner fire under control. The kind of fire that warms you, not burns you. The kind that lights your path, even through darkness. Musashi's discipline wasn't punishment. It was devotion, a sacred ritual that turned chaos into art. And that's your second timeless lesson. Freedom isn't found in doing whatever you want. It's found in mastering the part of you that doesn't want to do what you must. Most people think calmness means inaction, that to be still is to be passive. But Musashi shattered that illusion. He moved like water, silent, shapeless, yet unstoppable. When he entered battle, he didn't charge. He didn't flinch. He simply observed. Every breath, every twitch of his opponent's muscles, all absorbed into his awareness like ripples in still water. Stillness, to Musashi, wasn't about freezing the body. It was about emptying the mind until nothing was left but pure presence. He wrote, "When your spirit is not fixed on one thing, you will see many things clearly." Think about that. When your mind is fixated on winning, you miss the moment. When it's trapped in fear, you miss the opportunity. But when it is still, utterly still, the world opens like a page, and you can read everything written upon it. In life, stillness isn't something you find in meditation alone. It's something you carry into chaos. When everyone else is reacting, you remain anchored. When everyone else shouts, you remain aware. Stillness in action means moving without inner noise. It means walking through fire without letting the flames reach your core. Imagine an argument, words flying, tempers high. You feel that surge in your chest, that instinct to prove, to defend. And yet, you pause. You breathe. You listen. That is stillness. Not weakness. Not surrender. But control, the kind that bends the world around you because you refuse to be bent by it. Musashi didn't just fight duels. He fought moments. Moments of doubt, pride, hesitation. And every time he remained still, he discovered that the right move revealed itself naturally, like a leaf drifting downstream. To forge inner fire, you must master this paradox: be still, but never stagnant. Be calm, but always ready. Be motionless, yet fully alive. That is the essence of the art of stillness in action. When Musashi withdrew from society, people thought he had lost his purpose. They couldn't understand why the greatest swordsman would vanish into the mountains. But they didn't realize, that was where he was sharpening his sharpest weapon, his mind. In solitude, Musashi learned what few ever do, that silence reveals truth louder than any voice. He watched rivers flow, trees bend, and storms pass. And he began to see the rhythm of nature as a mirror of human life. He realized. Everything in nature moves with patience. The bamboo doesn't resist the wind, it yields and survives. The mountain doesn't chase the sky, it simply stands, and the clouds come to it. That is how he lived. He didn't chase approval, that he didn't seek company to escape loneliness. He embraced solitude to meet the only person who truly mattered, himself. In today's world, solitude feels like punishment. We surround ourselves with noise, notifications, distractions, terrified of what silence might reveal. But that's exactly why we remain fragmented. We never meet ourselves long enough to understand what we really want. Musashi's solitude was his forge. He entered it raw and impatient, and came out tempered, sharp, focused, unbreakable. Observation was his meditation. He didn't just see the world, he studied it until it revealed its secrets. He once said, "Perception is strong and sight is weak." In strategy, it is important to see distant things as if they were close and to take a distanced view of close things. That's not just swordsmanship, it's life. It means learning to see beyond emotion, beyond the immediate, beyond the illusion of urgency. When you slow down enough to observe, not just react, you begin to see patterns. You start to recognize your triggers, your fears, your habits. And that awareness becomes power. Solitude isn't the absence of connection. It's the presence of clarity. And from that clarity, every move you make becomes deliberate, not desperate. That's Musashi's fourth timeless lesson: if you cannot stand alone, you will fall with the crowd. When Musashi had already defeated over 60 opponents, undefeated, legendary, you'd think he would stop. But that was when his true journey began. He realized victory over others was meaningless if he hadn't conquered himself completely. And so, he renounced dueling. He stopped fighting with swords and began fighting with awareness. He studied painting, poetry, sculpture, and calligraphy, seeing no separation between art and combat. For him, mastery was a path, not a destination. There was always another layer of refinement, another veil to lift. He understood that the moment you think you've arrived, you begin to decay. The sword that isn't sharpened rusts. The mind that isn't challenged dulls. The spirit that isn't tested weakens. So he kept walking, not toward victory, but toward truth. That's what separates masters from amateurs. Amateurs seek applause. Masters seek evolution. Musashi believed that the way of the warrior was not about killing, it was about awakening. Every duel, every discipline, every failure was a mirror reflecting what he still needed to refine. He wrote, "Today is victory over yourself of yesterday, tomorrow is your victory over lesser men." That's the fire you must keep alive, the fire that never says, enough. The fire that burns not for fame, but for understanding. The fire that says, there's always a deeper layer to uncover. True mastery isn't reaching perfection. It's learning to live with imperfection, and still rise every day to polish your blade. That's Musashi's fifth lesson: the path of mastery never ends, because the moment it does, you stop growing. Musashi lived by detachment. He wrote, "Think lightly of yourself and deeply of the world." In those few words lies a lifetime of wisdom. He understood that attachment, to praise, to comfort, to ego, is the chain that drags a warrior into defeat. To move freely, one must travel light. Detachment doesn't mean apathy. It means your peace no longer depends on external things. You can hold the sword without being owned by it. You can love the world without being consumed by it. That's real strength, to care deeply, but not cling. To fight fiercely, but not hate. To give your all, but not lose yourself in the outcome. When you reach that state, nothing can truly harm you. Because you've already surrendered the illusion of control. You've learned to flow with life rather than force it. Musashi wasn't fearless, he was detached from fear. He wasn't heartless, he was free from dependence. And that is what made him unshakable. By the end of his life, Musashi wrote Kodo, The Way of Walking Alone. 21 precepts for living beyond the illusions of the world. No possessions, no attachments, no regrets. He had become what he sought all along. Not a swordsman. Not a philosopher. But a man in harmony with himself. And that is where your journey leads. Because, forging inner fire, isn't about fighting the world, it's about burning away what is false within you. The fear. The pride. The need to prove. When those fall away, what remains is pure focus, pure being. A flame that doesn't flicker with circumstance, doesn't die with failure. A fire that lights every moment of your life with clarity and courage. You were never meant to live as ash, scattered by every wind of doubt. You were meant to live as flame, steady, bright, untamed. So remember Musashi's timeless truth. To master the world, first master yourself. To win any battle, first still the mind. To walk freely, first let go. Forge your inner fire, and become the sword.